We begin with a word.
Unlike anything you've ever seen. Doctor Strange, rated PG-13. Get tickets in Real D and IMAX 3D.
Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is the 14th movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and honestly, this movie was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was just going to be a really run-of-the-mill, kind of cheesy action movie, just being made really to get Doctor Strange into Infinity Wars and some of the other, bigger Marvel movies. But honestly, I was surprised. While this movie is contained within its own universe, it does a really good job at setting up an amazing character and just kind of explaining this whole mythical realm within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Starting off with the highlights of this movie. Now, Benedict Cumberbatch, if you haven't seen him in anything, what are you doing? But as we know, he's a phenomenal actor, and he does a great job as Doctor Strange. Now, granted, I'm not the biggest guy into the Doctor Strange lore and how the character is too much, but I know enough to say that Benedict Cumberbatch does a great job taking up the role of the character, and just as good of a job as any other, main Marvel character castings. And he's able to get all the charisma, yet all the arrogance and cockiness within the character that really transforms his character into this kind of unlikable guy in the beginning to one that's very compelling while still being, kind of cocky and having his own kind of personality. That being said, the side characters as well do a pretty good job for the most part. Now, I don't really care maybe to see a lot of these side characters later on in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but for what they were and their purpose in this film, they did a pretty solid job. Then going on probably what I think is probably the best part of this movie is the visuals. Now, take Inception. Now give some steroids. Now put it on some like LSD, and that's what you get out of this movie. This movie is just a visual spectacle, and it's just set piece after set piece, and it's just mind-boggling and amazing. And what really makes this compelling is it's not just, hey, let's have some character look at the distance and see something. While there is some of that, they integrate these big set pieces and amazing different like changes in the world and all these dynamic pieces into action scenes, into chases, into different kind of ways, so that we could see action like we've never seen it before in a comic book movie. And that's what really got me in this movie. The fights are a lot better than I expected. Honestly, when you get magic within a fight, a lot of times it's just kind of like a spell and then a blast or beam, and that's it. Here, no, they have the world shifting. It's very dynamic. We have places being torn apart, things shifting on its side, places moving, things being blown up, parts moving out, things going back and forth. And the way the whole world is manipulated and used in order to use this magic, and the different kinds of spells and the different kinds of weapons and powers that they use within this, it's just so well done. And honestly, if you go to the movie for no other reason than just to see like how cool it looks, like it's good on its own terms just for that. Now, going into the bad, what's Marvel's biggest problem? We all know it. It's terrible villains. And guess what? We got another one. This guy, I honestly don't even remember his name. We're gonna call him Magic Guys. So Magic Guys is just another terrible villain. You've seen him in the trailers. He has all the purple and shit around his eyes and stuff, but he's just another bland, nameless-ish character. While he has no real introduction, a very, very thin kind of explained like reason for his actions, and he pretty much just has a little fight in the middle and a fight at the end, and that's it. Like, yeah. Also going into some of the this movie is a little bit predictable, and it's just because it follows the standard origin movie kind of tropes. You see this guy, maybe he's not the most likable, or he's down or whatever, and then he basically gets some powers, he starts to like him a bit more, and he becomes a little bit cooler, and then there's a final big boss, and that's it. And there's no maybe huge repercussions, and while this, I understand, is to introduce the character and to kind of set up this mythos and everything, it is getting a tad bit stale from the story's perspective, when this is something we saw a lot in phase 1 of Marvel, and not really in phase 2, And if we start getting the same kind of story when it comes to Black Panther, when it comes to Captain Marvel, and some of the other introductions to, single characters and their worlds, it does get me a little bit worrisome that Marvel is not changing it up enough, or changing the formula up enough. But within here, I say this movie is really comparable to Ant-Man in that it's introducing its own condensed story while other things are happening in the cinematic universe. It's its own condensed story. It introduces a character that's very likable and shows pretty much his origin, his character, his personality, his powers, and kind of his side characters and stuff, so that if there is future installments within their respective stories or franchises, then that is possible. In addition, they both have meh villains, a pretty predictable story, but really cool visuals. With all that being said, I still give this movie a 7 to 7.5. Right there in the middle, kind of this Marvel Cinematic Universe. Not one of the bad ones, but not one of the phenomenal ones. I say this movie is a solid entry. It's gonna be fun, gonna be memorable, and definitely worth the watch. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what I had to say here, subscribe for more reviews in the future. I'm gonna have a countdown coming soon of all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies and kind of how I think they rank in comparison to one another. So stay tuned for that. Thanks again, and see you next time.